Dr. Maryvelma Smith O'Neill, presenting her project and paper, The Virtual Elish Initiative, Digital Mapping Jerusalem During the Late Ottoman Era. Maryvelma Smith O'Neill received her MA from Tulane University and DPhil from Oxford University in the history of art. She has taught, researched, published, and lectured on the intercultural history of art, cultural politics, European art, arts of Islamic world, and historic preservation in Jerusalem. In 2017, she was featured in a documentary on Arte, the European public service channel dedicated to culture, and she is the founder and director of the Alliance to Restore Cultural Heritage in the Holy City of Jerusalem. So, Dr. Maryvelma, please.
Thank you. Thank you. When I was a kid, I used to read about the language of flowers, and I used to, I don't know if my grandparents pressed flowers, and as far as I remember, flowers were, this language of flowers came from a book in France, 1819. Flowers had a symbolic, like roses do, etc. But I just don't know the meaning of a lot of flowers. I love their beauty. And I know in Switzerland, where I live, it's illegal to pick wild flowers. So it's the naughty one in me wants to take them, especially dandelions. But I would like to just say that before I speak to you about the Virtual Elish Initiative, that if I could create a flower chain, sort of a flower wreath for each of you, some of whom I've met 7 days ago, some of whom I've actually never spoken to, I would place a crown of flowers on your head. And I hope that you would preserve it somewhere in a picture or whatever, because I'm immensely grateful for this past 7 days, and all of us will carry the seeds of these flowers further on to wherever we're going next. So that having been said, thank you again. And I'd like to dedicate this presentation to Mahmoud Darwish. We had a poetry festival in his honor to try to save the Mamilla Cemetery in 2013 at the Mahmoud Darwish Foundation. And this particular excerpt from his poem in Jerusalem I find particularly relevant for this subject. He says, in Jerusalem, and I mean within the ancient walls, I walk from one epoch to another without a memory to guide me. How tragic. Jerusalem is at the very heart of Palestine. So our project aims to revitalize, if we can, restore, give rebirth to Jerusalem with your help. So if I can now begin the presentation, and I think I'll stand up because I'm sort of a teacher and I like doing that. So the topic for this presentation is land, people, and visual art. Thanks. The role of digital technology in reviving memories and narratives in Jerusalem. This is our logo. We intended with the logo to create other arches, and that is to link with other people, because obviously it's impossible to do any kind of work alone. And this is the object that we are interrogating, the artifact. The Elish relief that you see before you was completed in 1873. It's a long story about the man who created it. And it's the first complete 3D model of the old city of Jerusalem and its surroundings. It offers an aerial vision of the city, located on the southern spur of a plateau, bordered by mountains and surrounded by deep valleys. And in order to see it better, could we dim the lights, please? Thank you. This is the next slide. The Virtual Elish Initiative is a bespoke, immersive mapping system that allows multimedia content to be embedded. Thank you. Within a digital replica of Jerusalem, it features a range of modular, interactive tools that can be deployed on desktop, VR, and immersive museum systems. Bespoke means you have clothes made for you. It's made to order or something. That's not a word. It's pretty much an Anglo word, an old Anglo word. So these are the specifications of the Elish relief, named after the Hungarian bookbinder who created it. Its scale, 1 to 500, you can read. It's approximately 4 times 4.3 meters. The buildings are made of zinc sheets. I don't know where he got them. That's a big question. Glued with putty. and color-coded. The Ilish relief is divided into 8 topographic units laid upon wood frames for ease of transport. So Ilish intended this to go around, to move, and it did. It first went to the Universal Exposition in Vienna in 1873. It was sent along with some models by Konrad Schick, who was a Swiss-German model maker, an enormously important figure in this period in Jerusalem, along with many other people who came and really established a field of biblical archaeology sort of on the ground. This is the plan of the Universal Exposition. I've been to Vienna to try to figure out, it's not a fairgrounds. It was the Ilish relief with the Schick relief was placed in the Ottoman pavilion, and it was on view for 6 months, and it was a huge hit. I mean, people came and raved about it. It was really extraordinary, because you can imagine, you couldn't get on an airplane then, but you could see Jerusalem. You could see the holy sites. You could be like an avian pilgrim, a bird flying over Jerusalem. So it was really a marvelous exhibition for people in 1873. Then it began its journey. Not Schick, but Ilish and his promoters, who claimed scientific accuracy for the relief, sent it on a moving tour. It went to London, it went to Cologne, it went through Switzerland, from Zurich to Neuchâtel to Lucerne, and I think then it came to Geneva. And in 1878, it was purchased in Geneva for the sum of 9,500 Swiss francs, which was really quite considerable at the time. It was purchased because the Calvinists saw the relief as akin to the image of Geneva being the New Jerusalem. So it was intended to be a pedagogical tool. It was used or displayed for 40 years, and then it was displaced by the League of Nations. They needed this building from the Reformed Calvinists. And then in 1984, it went on permanent loan to the Tower of David Museum. I could tell you, you know this already, permanent loan means that it's not permanent. It means that there are conditions, if the conditions aren't met, the model should be returned to its rightful owners, which is an organization called the Maison de la Réformation in Geneva. And there has been a lot of discussion about trying to get it back, but we know how difficult it is to retrieve objects from Israel. So anyway, onto the Ilish. What do we see here? Marvelous document, which shows us Jerusalem before it was altered significantly. Here we see the Latin and Greek patriarchates over near Jaffa Gate. You can't see the details so clearly, but you can if you go to the Tower of David Museum, and there you can examine it in detail. When this is anyway, when these photographs were taken, it was in the cistern, which is where I found it in 2010. So I've been working on this for about, 13 years. And we see consular flags, glass windows, telegraph posts. The Europeans are coming. Here we see also the development of the city outside the walls of Jerusalem. We see the new roads. You can see those in white. We see the first Jewish settlement at Mishkan Hoshanim on the left. And on the right, we see the beginning of the sprawling Russian compound that was also built outside the Jaffa Gate. We see, and this is important too, destroyed monuments like the Herva Synagogue, which was destroyed in 1948 and rebuilt recently or somewhat recently. We see the destruction of the Harat al-Maghariba, and for those who are interested, we did preliminarily a digital archive of this quarter, which was not really a quarter, it was an area which belonged to the Maghreb, the North Africans, and the people from Al-Andalus. And in 1967, it was completely destroyed. About 700 families were removed under military order within a couple of hours. It was really the first major Nakba in Jerusalem. And we interviewed a lot of the survivors, the people who are still remember, and we collected all the documents, some of which are hard to find because a lot of Christians didn't visit this quarter because there were no Christian monuments. But anyway, we created this. Please visit that digital archive. It's kind of moving, and it's interesting too. Okay, this is Silwan, which is also represented there, which is really pretty important as well, that we see this ancient Palestinian village, which is highly contested now. And okay, now what do we do with this? We have this model, and I'm fascinated by it because I love miniatures, Lego anything miniatures, the Hershey's Kisses, whatever. So the first thing we did was to digitalize this replica model through a process of photogrammetry. Photogrammetry is basically taking a number of cameras and taking pictures above the model, which was still, unfortunately, in the cistern, even though the curator had promised that it would be taken to the first floor and dismantled, but she didn't like me because I said that I wrote in Al Jazeera that the relief should be returned to Geneva because it was inaccessible to Palestinians, therefore it was in breach of Swiss and international law. So I got in trouble, and it's not the first time. But anyway, the photogrammetry, we created this virtual document. And this is the Factum Foundation, which is a Spanish foundation. Then what did we do? We got a lot of material. We collected a lot of material and information about Jerusalem. And we used this way of cataloging information called Dublin Core. I had the privilege in 2017 and 18 to be a member of a class at Duke University, and I learned digital mapping in 2 sessions, which was at a very high level, but it sort of turned me around in terms of what I wanted to do, rather switching from Gutenberg to the digital world. So I did a lot of this Dublin Core, which you really have to do to assure accuracy. And the third phase was the creation of an interactive website. And this is what we have created now, and I have documented about 70 spots in Jerusalem, which in very short museum catalogs, it was kind of a difficult job because, as you know, everything in Jerusalem is very, very long history, so that was kind of tough. And then we introduced to this website these modular features, and I'll show you those in a second. We showed a historical map overlays, we showed interactive archival materials, and other 3D models will be inserted, immersive GIS mapping, real-time lighting, point of view, and measuring tools. And now, the wonderful technicians will show you, will bring you to Jerusalem if you haven't been there yet. Can you do that? Thanks. It's a little difficult to use this. Steam is a gaming platform, and we chose it because it's interactive, and also it's very ultra-secure, plus that it allows you to upload data without kind of constantly going and adding it. It uploads automatically. Best of all, it creates an interactive community. So what we hope to do, you'll see with this, Steam you can install it on your computers, it's free. Has a lot of games that young people like. It's a little, the only complication is that you have to go through many iterations of CAPTCHA, A, B, C, if the thing, then you go again, and they have to make it da-da-da-da-da.
This virtual reconstruction of the illustrator was commissioned by art. It has been on.
If you click on that, you can see the lighting of Jerusalem at various times of the day or night. Night, you can't see light. What am I talking about? The second one is, I believe, the measuring tool. And then the measuring tool, you can, that's the second one, yeah. You can measure any place in Jerusalem like for example, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, you can also measure from where you are at home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. You can measure, it's GIS measurements. So that's the second one. And the third one is that's POV. This is still a little bit problematic. It's a little jiggly, but allows you to explore Jerusalem with your mouse, to go and to visit. For example, here we are in the Mount of Olives, and you can see the Mount of Olives with the Haram al-Sharif. And what's extraordinary about this is that the city appears as it did in 1873. And for those of you who know Jerusalem and know how built up it is and how cementified it has become, this is pretty extraordinary. This is the contemporary map of Jerusalem with the old city you see in the center of it. And these are map layers. We believe that Illich used Charles Wilson's Ordnance Survey of 1865, and we'll be able to verify that quickly, which is the first scientific survey of Jerusalem, which has a long history and much discussion about its purposes. But here we see another map by a French priest from 1912. So we have many map layers that show the old city. So that's another function. Those are the map layers. This is the list, sort of the index of the sites that we have now that we've written, but we are willing to correct these also, and that's what makes it so wonderful that people can, it's interactive. And then, is there anything else? Okay, finally, I think that's about the settings. I think, and we have the settings. Oh yeah, we have all of these. When you click onto these icons, you're directed to a brief text and usually a photograph. Here's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We have the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We tried to be very ecumenical in our choice of images. It's complicated to do images also because there's the copyright, but for us at least we had the Herva Synagogue. We found pictures of that. It was destroyed, as I said, in 1948. Begun by the Ashkenazi. Here's the Dormition Abbey. So I think you get a picture of the range of the great. That's probably it. See, you can go on. Thanks very much. I'll go back to the PowerPoint now, I think. Just to keep my time. Thank you so much. Okay, can I do the PowerPoint? Okay, so we went back to the STEAM. Now we have the fourth phase. The fourth phase of our work is a call for participation. We are going to, we invite anybody who has any documentary information about Jerusalem, whatever form or fashion, whatever it is, any banking slips, any private letters, or whatever, we invite you to send those to us, and you can link to it, our virtual or Illich initiative. There are about at this point, 8 Ottoman scholars from around the world who are part of our team. And I don't know, this may not mean anything to you, clustering methods and GI, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a visualization based on time and the sequence, but also spatial of data in late Ottoman Jerusalem. So we'll be able to bring you back to the future. And then we'll analyze the file. What we're really interested in, and we've talked about this earlier, showing the social history of Jerusalem in the late 19th century. The fifth phase is an exploration of the historical geography of Jerusalem. And we're going to digitally document the ecological, social, and economic relationship of late Ottoman Jerusalem with the surroundings, including villages. We're going to make visible alterations to historic landscape between 1873 and today. This is an orthographic photo. You can see then the Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, the depth of the valleys. I mean, that in itself is an extraordinary picture that has never been produced before, and it was produced by the Factum Foundation and through the processing of this data that they collected in July of 2019. So basically, now I'd like to call you all, citizen scientists, all of you, particularly the students in the room,
we would like to obtain 3D content on the ground in Jerusalem and have it addended by students and researchers. This is a huge collaborative project, and we're going to hope that this will reinforce the central purpose of Ilish's model and the methodology for historical investigation. Finally, just to say that what we're doing and what we're happy to do, this is a rich and extensible search tool. It's a spatial temporal access for, index for access to archival documents by cultural heritage organizations. Can you imagine the use they could make of this? Museums, schools, tourism, Dar al-Kalima. Wow. It also can be shared via the internet, stored easily in a digital format, and reproduced with 3D printers, meaning that we could make a 3D copy and give it to the Palestine National Museum or anywhere. This room is big enough for it, so why not? Let's raise some money and do it. It'd be really fun. Finally, we're going to have, that's the next phase. It's an immersive installation, and we will invite you. This is not an elitist project. We'll invite you to don virtual stuff, and I've done it before, and go into sort of an IMAX theater and actually interact physically, not just visually, but interact physically with Jerusalem. So can you imagine the narrative that we know that is dominant in Jerusalem? How much we could challenge this narrative if everybody could say, no, this isn't true. There are 25 civilizations here and 30 archaeological layers. Why are you just picking up these little stones in the Second Temple period? Why is it possible? This is so vast, and this city has such an extraordinary history, more than any other city in the world. So that's why we're really excited about this immersive installation. And in Switzerland, where I live, there's a laboratory for digital museology, and they do a lot of these kind of digital things. So we're gonna send Jerusalem around the world, and invite people from all over the world who can't get to Jerusalem. As one of the helpers said, the volunteers, what a gift for sustainable tourism. For people who can't come here, you see the city is just too packed with tourists. So we'll send them some tourist stuff, and that kind of, and we'll make them happy. Some hummus and maybe some za'atar. I don't know how that go. Okay, finally, yay! The Virtual Ilish Initiative uses digital technology to revive and display the land, people, and visual art of Jerusalem. We hope it will inspire research as well as other digital initiatives and alliances to protect and preserve its contested cultural heritage of outstanding universal value. Thank you very much.